ran over. Sun Valley Marketplace was a 5-minute presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Dean Harrell, petitioner for Sun Valley Marketplace. I wanted to bring you up to date on modification of the plan that we have decided for the consideration of the town and the council here. On the slide here, you'll see, I guess we'll call that sort of the southwest portion of this project. We have deleted 94 of the townhomes. There were a total of 188 on the original plan. We have dropped that number now by half, which was 94 we have taken off, and we will just leave that parcel there for inventory for somewhere years down the road at a different consideration for the council at that time. We've also, on beautification on Wesley Chapel Stouts Road, we have offered to change the typical red light out at the intersection of the project in Wesley Chapel Stouts from just pole-hung traffic lights to ornamental black iron poles that will hang the lights in that intersection. In addition, we've also, where we can, we will do a sidewalk all the way down Wesley Chapel Stouts Road all the way to 74, 10 feet wide. At this time, we will still have to work through some right-of-way there to get that. That's what we're proposing to do, as well as a detailed landscape of October Glory maple trees, hollies, and benches along that route. So hopefully the standard that this will be done will set the pace for the additional parcels up and down Wesley Chapel Stouts Road to meet that standard of quality for that landscape. And at this time, that is a reduction of approximately 14% in the from the original plan that was presented. And at this time, I can take any questions you may have.
How many apartments, Dean, does that leave? I mean, I know that was townhomes, but apartments
Right.
are the same.
Apartments are the same. It's 312. And here's the situation we run into with reducing the density. When we reduce the density, we still have to set all the improvements of traffic on 74. So the current traffic improvement plan stays in place. All the turn lanes, all the deceleration lanes, the red lights, everything stays the same. The amenities stay the same. So there's no reduction in the size of the amenities, even though there's a size of reduction in density. So all of those things, cost-wise, have to be divided out by less density now, but they still have to be put in place as they were on the original plans. But to answer your questions, the apartments are staying the same at the 312. The active adult is right at 130 units, the active adult center. And what we have reduced is the density of the townhomes significantly. The hotel is still there, the restaurants are still there, and the commercial is still there.
So you don't have a hotel yet, though, do you?
No, right now during the COVID, we just cannot. The flagship hotels don't even want to talk about breaking new ground at this time. That will certainly come back, but it's just not going to come back immediately. But we will leave the condition and the area for the hotel in place for that when that time comes. Also, there's a dilapidated building on one of these parcels out on 74. What we would propose, if the successful zoning is voted on, is to, at the grading permit, issue of the grading permit, we will tear that building down within 30 days of the issuance of the permit and clean that area up. Yes, sir.
This may provide feedback when I turn it on. Just one question.
Sure.
The reduction in the townhomes, is the footprint still the same?
The land that you see is sort of a light green colored to the southwest down there, that was actually had 94 townhomes. And so the land area will be inventoried. And I don't know if I can answer maybe I can answer your question this way. The land area stays the same. At this point, the density is reduced by 14% overall.
But if townhomes are added at a later date, we're back to the original project?
Yes, sir. Years down the road, if the town sees and they like the quality of this product and it looks really good, if they so choose and we bring it to an additional petition, you can so choose in years to come if you're okay with that type of product to go in there, or approve it or deny it on that piece.
Thank you.
Between the townhomes, senior center, and the apartments, so we're talking over 600 units with those, correct?
Correct, originally.
And I didn't see this, but how many parking spaces do you have for all those three?
It would be on the key up there. I could maybe ask Mark Kine with Land Design to come up and answer that question. We are overparked. We have provided more than it's required, but I'll ask Mark to step in on that question.
Yeah, for the townhomes, we'll have one parking space in the driveway, one parking space in the garage, so two parking spaces per unit in the townhome development. The apartments, and I think we have to also provide another one additional parking space for overflow for every 4 spaces that are provided, and that overflow parking is located around the amenity site for the townhome center.
Okay. Given the cost of your right-of-ways on 74, as you said, why you maybe couldn't reduce certain things, so why reduce the townhomes and why not reduce the apartments?
The apartment set, as far as administration on the apartments, is set to, when you have the leasing people, the leasing offices, is set up for around 300 to be the most efficient. We're at 312. If we reduced it to 300, what you've got then is by that 12 is like a half building, and it just doesn't work. So you might as well go ahead and finish that building out to get up to the 312. But that's the magical number typically for administration of apartments, is the 300 number. So we're at 312.
One more question. Why not more commercial with apartments overhead or something like that?
Commercial in this area is sort of a live-work type situation with it downstairs. But right now, commercial below apartments like they're building on South Boulevard, they're just empty. So it's empty space. We want this to be a thriving community and everybody come out okay on this as far as the investors, the builders, and the town. So to put a retail space below apartments right now is just not economically feasible with the climate of the economy right now.
Or not more commercial either?
You talking about commercial in the apartments themselves? And no, sir, it's just not feasible to do that in this type of situation. We have commercial on the outskirts. We have commercial in Wesley Chapel Stouts and commercial on 74. But to try to build commercial internally on the first floor of these apartment buildings, this is just not a setup with enough of density and enough of support by restaurants and retail in this area to support retail on the bottom of the apartments at this time.
Thank you. It's just a lot of density, but thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Dean,
Yes, sir.
the active adult center, is that
Right.
age restricted? Is that
Yes.
55?
55 and older, correct.
Is there any amenities included in that?
Yes, so there is a spa-type situation within that active adult, but what we're really focusing on is the outside activity, as in pickleball courts. So there'll be 4 pickleball courts within that facility.
Okay.
And if you're familiar with pickleball, it's not tennis, it's a little bit lower impact, but we do plan for 4 pickleball.
All right, so over
courts.
55, then will this be managed by an HOA? Is it?
It will actually be managed by specific people who are in this industry. The closest one is out at Kuykendall and Providence Road, that this type of facility is done. There are no children allowed to live there. It is all age restricted to 55 and older. Unlike a age restricted community, which you can by federal guidelines have some children in there, this one is all adults.
All right, so there's no way then, once it's set like this, it can be reverted back to any age?
Correct, and if the town feels more comfortable to have that deed restricted to that, we would be more than glad to put that into the deed to make sure that doesn't revert back at some other time to a typical apartment complex.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay. Later on in the agenda, there's a request to reopen the hearing.
That's correct. I think you have it on your agenda item 9.
9B. And we'll see that then.
Okay, thank you.
McIntyre had any questions?
Oh. Marcus, did you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't see him over there. Thank you. So at this time, we're going to call the regular meeting in Indian Trail Town Council for October 13th, 2020 to order. If everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone remain standing for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. You may be seated. One second, please. Okay, are there any additions or deletions to tonight's meeting?
I've got one addition, I guess it'd be under new business, and it's just a discussion of the seating arrangement for council and attorney and town manager.
What? I'm sorry, I didn't understand you.
Seating arrangement.
I thought you said feeding arrangements. I was wondering, when are we gonna start eating, but okay.
Okay, that would be, put that under G, 10G.
Mr. Mayor, we have one deletion too, whenever you're
Right,
ready.
I'm looking for that one.
That would be 10F.
Okay, 10F, deletion.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are there any other additions or deletions? If not, I'll need a motion to approve the amended agenda, please. Mr. Heads made the motion. All in favor? Marcus?
In favor.
Thank you. Okay. There are no presentations tonight, and there's no public comments, so I'll open and close the public comments. And, of course, I'm going to assume council has no feedback to the public comments. Okay. Captain James, you're up. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council. As usual, laid there in front of you, the numbers from September. A couple quick things I want to touch on. Our reportable offenses for the month rose from 211 to 235. And again, that's the ones that are actually being reported through UCR. Out of that, the biggest thing that's going up with us is the car B&Es, and one thing I don't like to see is the motor vehicle tests. I plan on meeting with Miss Abby in the next couple of days to possibly do a social media blitz about unlocked cars and leaving the keys in any cars. Right now, we're working on number 8, which happened last night, and the recovered number 8 on the bypass, wrecked on the bypass early this morning. But it's simply just the minor thing of taking the keys out of your car and locking it up and not leaving your valuables in. For the month, 371 business checks, 1,776 preventative patrols, Those are down a little bit, but since the car B&Es and the motor vehicle thefts have happened, our guys have been spending more time on these preventative patrols in the neighborhood and trying to be excessive. So if you see them blacked out rolling through neighborhoods, unlike where they normally roll through with cruise lights on, or you get calls about that, that's what they're doing, is they're trying to catch these kids walking. Going to traffic, 120 crashes last month. That's up from August. But our injuries for that month, last month, are down, which is a good thing. We just want to get that crash number down. And then touching on the new grant that started October 1st, those two guys, first week, which was last Tuesday to Saturday, 115 total charges. 6 of those were drug charges. So they're doing exactly what I wanted them to do. They're getting dope off the streets too. 91 total violator contacts over those 4 days, and then 41 warning citations. So those two guys are busting their tail, and they're doing exactly what we want them to do. So I look for good things coming out of them over this year. Is there any questions I can answer for you?
I got a question. I was asked recently, but do you think there's been an increase in y'all run across homeless people since COVID-19, or
No, not in our neighborhood.
don't think so?
No.
If the shelter in Monroe is full, is there anywhere else y'all encourage them to go, or?
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm not familiar with any of my guys encountering anybody in the town of Indian Trail since I've been up here, other than, the few far between that are living in the parking lot over at Walmart. But that's usual. They're living in a vehicle or a van or something of that nature.
Okay, my doctor asked me, and I didn't realize the homeless shelter had been full or something. She
Right.
had some patients, and
Well, typically, it just depends, a lot of it depends on weather, and I won't say that it's revolving, but, they go and come a lot, so I don't know if they're full. I don't know what the numbers are on it right now.
well, since you didn't update everybody, the groundbreaking today for the new sheriff administration was there, and Mr. McLaurin and Captain James were there, and appreciate that. And, the people voted for a bond, and I just want to say, I think it's a good building. We got the best sheriff's department in the state, and y'all doing a great job.
Well, I
Thank you.
appreciate that, and I know the sheriff appreciates y'all's support, especially in the town support that we get behind the sheriff's office. That's very important to make our organization run as well as it does.
Yeah, if I have to go down there, I hope it's the administration building, so no.
Well, I'm working on that.
You're working on that.
I'm
There you
working
go.
toward bringing a lot of that up here to our office here in Indian Trail over the next year. That's one of my
So thank
goals
you.
to work
We're
on.
fortunate to have you. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions for Captain James? Thank you, Captain. Ms. Dees, Evoke Project?
See, Mr. Mayor, I think we're at consent agenda now.
Oh, did I turn the page? Excuse me. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Heads made the motion. All in favor? Marcus?
I'm in favor.
Okay. That's unanimous. No public hearings. See, we're right back where we're supposed to be. All right. Sorry, Brandy. I was just testing you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we're considering the Evoke project. This project is CZ 2020-0017. You have before you, and I believe you received via email, a summary from the developer. And I believe they are here tonight as well to speak, but this tonight has been set for an official vote on this request. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Everything remains the same.
Didn't they change the road or something? So it's a right-hand turn now.
Correct. That's going to be a right in and right out to avoid that left movement onto Wesley Chapel Stouts.
And they put a walkway over to Sun Valley Marketplace. Commons, I'm sorry.
So there's always been a pedestrian connectivity into Sun Valley Commons. There were some difficulties with making that vehicular, just simply because that's floodplain through there. So as far as I know, that will remain a pedestrian connection.
Okay, so they can still walk over and see a movie and get Viva Chicken or something. right?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Okay. The recommended motions and, sorry, Brandy.
Okay, you have before you on the screen the normal two-step process. So we'll need a motion to adopt the consistency statements and then a motion to approve, deny, or approve with additional conditions.
Okay. Mr. Head?
I'll make a
Mr. Mayor.
motion.
Yes, sir. Mr. Head had his hand up.
Can I have a voice vote, please? Can I have a voice vote? Council member will say their name and the vote, please.
Yes, sir.
I can go last as well.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the consistency findings as read into the record for CZ 2020-017 by staff on August 11th, 2020.
Okay, and I'm going to ask Brandy to reread that again for tonight.
Sure.
So the proposed UDO amendment is consistent with the following goals of the comprehensive plan: land use and housing goal number 1, land use and housing goal number 2, land use and housing goal number 5, and mobility and transportation goal number 2. This rezoning request is reasonable and in the public interest because it promotes the goals of the Indian Trail Comprehensive Plan in the areas of land use, housing, mobility, and transportation.
Do you want him to update the date?
Yes, just amend to say, as read into the record by staff on today.
To approve the consistency findings as read into the record by staff for CZ 2020-017.
Okay. All right, council. Mr. Head's made the motion. Mr. Cohen? Approve. Mr. Barber?
Approve.
Mr. Morse?
Approve.
Mr. McIntyre?
Approve.
Okay, we'll need a second motion.
You said approve.
Oh, that's
Step
unanimous.
two.
Gonna need a second motion.
Approve.
I know, that's unanimous. We need a second motion.
I'll make the motion. I'd like to motion to approve CZ 2020-0017 petition as presented by staff and read into the record.
Mr. Morse has made the motion to approve. Mr. Barber?
Approve.
Approve. Mr. Head?
Approve.
Mr. McIntyre?
Approve.
Let the record stand. The motion carries as presented unanimously. Okay, item B on old business is the Sun Valley Marketplaces request to reopen the public hearing on 10/27/2020. Did you wish to speak, Brandy?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just briefly, we're requesting to reopen this public hearing due to the modifications. We just want to make sure that everything's done in the sunshine, is transparent. And if this request to reopen it is approved, we have 157 notices that will be mailed out tomorrow so that folks will be well aware of what's taking place on this item. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, I'll need a motion to approve the public hearing for reopening for Sun Valley Marketplace on 10/27 and send out all required notices.
Next.
Anyone? Now, you all know I can't make that motion.
Sorry, Michael, what do you want to do? You want to
Reopen the hearing.
Yeah,
David, please.
I make a motion to reopen the hearing.
10/27. Mr. Cohen's made the motion to reopen the hearing for Sun Valley Marketplace on 10/27/2020 and allow for additional public comment.
Mr. Mayor, just for point of clarification, Councilmember Cohen, is your motion to open the public hearing on October 27th meeting,
Yes.
specifying the date? Okay.
Okay. Mr. Head?
Approve.
Mr. Barber?
Approve.
Ms. Morse?
Approve.
Mr. McIntyre?
Approved.
Let the record stand. Motion carries unanimously. Next item is a donation resolution of the soccer goals. Mr. Kramer?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hope all is well with everyone this evening. I come before you to discuss Resolution R201013-03, which is a donation request for soccer goals. The town is in possession of 4 sets, so 8 total goals, that have been dismantled and not currently in use by the town. 2 sets are large, measuring 24 by 8 feet, and 2 sets are small, measuring 18 by 6. These soccer goals came off of the multi-purpose field at Chestnut Square Park prior to the installation of the turf field. New goals were purchased as part of that project. If any new goals are needed for any projects with the town, they would be purchased new. To provide a benefit to the town and athletes, we are proposing that the goals be marked as surplus and donated to the 2 recognized athletic associations that operate in Indian Trail. Both Indian Trail Athletic Association and Porter Ridge Athletic Association operate successful soccer programs and would benefit from the surplus. If approved, the town will reach out to both organizations to facilitate a donation that is both fair and equal. It is understood that the goals are in as-is condition. Transportation, setup, and replacement of any parts, if needed, would be on their own accord. This evening, I come before you to answer any questions and ask that you approve the resolution.
Any questions?
Yes, sir. How has the town dealt with surplus equipment in the past?
Sure. As I understand it, and I've been with the town for about 5 years, we have sold essentially, and you know, as I understand, equipment has gone for as little as $1 or $2.
And what methods do y'all use with that surplus equipment?
As I understand it, and town manager may chime in as well, there are different avenues that essentially the town marks it, and that it's made aware to the general public that XYZ equipment is available. Starting bids usually again range in the very low mark.
So where this is going is, one, I'm not opposed to soccer. A little known fact is I actually taught soccer over at Edna Love Park years and years ago and didn't know what I was doing. But more importantly, Indian Trail is becoming a larger city now, and I feel like we're going to be running into this situation where we have surplus equipment. I'm not opposed at all to donating this to these 2 great organizations. But what I'd like to see out of this conversation, hopefully, would be maybe we come up with a policy or a procedure to actually address surplus equipment so that it'll benefit the taxpayer the most. Because ultimately, it really is taxpayers' equipment.
Absolutely, and the internal discussion that was had was, there is, I don't want to say there is no market for a used soccer goal, but goals are typically not purchased used, especially in the condition that they are. So they were about 5 or 6 years old. Again, they're municipal used, so it's not professionally moved, obviously stored outside. And when they were taken apart, they're in good condition, but they're rusty. The nets are torn, and just truly occupying space that would be better served by Public Works to store and to be able to move around their equipment. I was asked what the fair market value is, and it's something that whatever someone is willing to pay. Doing some research again on GovDeals, which is one of those sites, typically things are being sold at dollars. So for example, the last time that we surplused our portable stage, that we paid thousands for, I think it sold for like $10 altogether.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
to
sir.
answer your question, a lot of places use GovDeals, which is kind of like an eBay, and we can look at policies. This was just a request that came through.
Okay. Good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So Mr. Kramer is asking us to approve the resolution for the donations to the 2 recognized athletic associations equally.
I make a motion to approve resolution
Can I'm sorry to interrupt, but the other thing, we'd need to make sure that we declare the property surplus. And so could your motion please include a declaration that the property is surplus and then continue on with the donation rule?
I didn't hear any of that.
Just basically declare that the property is surplus in your motion.
Okay. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution R 201013-03, which declares the 4 sets of goals as surplus and authorizes them to be donated.
Mr. Barber's made the motion for the resolution. Mr. Head?
Approve.
Mr. Cohen? Approve. Mr. Morse?
Approve?
Mr. McIntyre?
Approve.
The records stand, the motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Land Development Manual updates, roadway. Mr. Hunsaker.
Mayor, Council, I brought this to y'all's attention last council meeting, and we're basically following up the discussion. I presented, 2 slides showing you existing subdivisions with wider streets than, our normal subdivisions. And basically, the staff is kind of recommending a minimum standard, meaning minimum being your major residential streets would be 28-foot minimum width. And then your minor residential streets, which is like your cul-de-sacs and stuff like that, would be a minimum 24-foot width. And that way, you give these developers that come into town and start looking, or engineers that start looking at our manual, our new manual, and they know right then there, that's the minimum. I mean, I think we need to start with the baseline minimum, and then if they want to build bigger streets, that's up to them. If they feel like they can sell the houses better with wider streets, let them build as wide as they want. But we need to at least start with a minimum cross-section. And Captain James, you can speak if you want to about this, but that's obviously, our recommendation as an engineering department. You want to speak to that a little bit?
If you have any comments.
One of the biggest issues I met when I came up here during my transition was parking. And I think all of y'all are aware of that. It still takes a considerable amount of time. I agree with Tyler on 28 foot on the minimum. That's totally good. Anything less than that, even on your minor streets, I think you run into situations to where you're going to have trouble maneuvering emergency equipment outside of our cars. When you start talking about a ladder truck or a fire truck or an ambulance trying to get in, and when you start trying to manage on-street parking, that's going to become an issue.
Any questions?
Captain, just so I understand, you're basically saying you would recommend 28 feet for all streets?
At a minimum.
Okay.
Is that 28 or 24?
He wants to do 28 everywhere across the board.
What were you
minimum.
recommending?
I was at minimum 24,
Okay.
because that lease allows you still to do on-street parking. But
I'm just confused.
just to minimize the footprint of the cost of what it's going to take to build those type of streets in a subdivision.
How do you feel about 24, Captain? Because right now, what is it? Some of them are what?
No, 18 feet.
18 feet is, yeah.
I'm just going to use this as an example. When you look at a 50-foot roadway, that roadway encompasses normally a 5 to 6 foot sidewalk, a 6-foot greenway between the sidewalk and then the curb and gutter, and then you're looking at possibly 28 foot as paved roadway. If you start parking cars or don't have some kind of on-street parking set up where they actually develop it, anything less than 28 foot, if you put cars on both sides of that road, it's blocked. That's when we have to start knocking on doors and getting people to move cars so school buses can get through. Anything less than 28. And that's with a regular car. We're not talking about a dually pickup truck or anything, a work truck, a FedEx truck, anything like that. That's what a regular car, just judging 6.5 feet.
So you're recommending 28 on the bigger and the smaller roads?
Yes, yes, sir.
all streets.
And that's just for fire truck, for large apparatus. Because if you got, regardless if it's a short roadway, if you try to get a fire truck down there and you do have somebody that left a vehicle sitting in the street, even on one side parking, once you're trying to move a ladder truck in there is almost impossible.
Any other questions? So you need a specific motion?
Well, I need basically a consensus. I mean,
Consensus.
it's a technical manual, so we don't really have to have a motion per se, but we just need I need some direction from y'all. That way developers don't have to come back on the staff and everything else saying, well, why can't we do it this way? Well, no, this is what council wanted, so.
Jerry?
I guess we're discussing, I would say the 28 feet, and
I say we set a 28 feet standard.
I think we need to go with the recommendation of the captain, 28 feet.
Don?
That's fine with me.
Mr. McIntyre?
Yeah, I'm okay with the consensus.
Okay,
All right.
28 feet.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We need a motion?
Nope,
No?
we're good. Solid waste rerouting update. Mr. McLam, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. How are you today?
Doing well, thank you.
So we said we'd come back. How are y'all tonight? We're back to talk about solid waste rerouting again. One thing, we've just gotten new updated maps this afternoon. We met with them yesterday to work through some of the mapping issues that they had sent to us. So right now what we're showing is draft maps as of this afternoon about 3 o'clock. So these are as up to date as we've got right now. So you can see on the left side, you've got the existing map, and you can see on the right side, you've got the proposed map. So what we've tried to do, these are your days of service. What we've tried to do is to lump together a little bit better when they're picking up in certain locations. The biggest thing is, like, if you look at the existing map, the green for Monday goes across the whole town. I mean, they're literally going across the whole town. They're skipping neighborhoods to get to neighborhoods that are getting picked up on that day. That's because technically in town, we've never had a rerouting. So I've been here 15 years and I know we've never done it then. I doubt it was done before then. And it's just over time, developments happen and we haven't ever actually routed solid waste away from developments, but actually for what the needs are. So that's for solid waste, days of service collection. Abby, can you go to the next one? Oh, I can do, oh, sorry. I'm sitting here holding it and didn't do it. The recycling map looks a little bit different. So what you can see with the recycling map we tried to do is we tried to cut some locations off of roadways or keep neighborhoods all being picked up on the same week. So we used to have a lot of neighborhoods that were split down roadways or maybe down half the neighborhood or phases or things like that. With the new rerouting, we have eliminated that with one exception, and that's Bonterra. Bonterra is the largest neighborhood we have in town, and we just couldn't, there was no way to balance out the pickup days with development that we think may come down the line, because we don't want to have to reroute again in a year or 2 years or 3 years. So we tried to look at everything that's kind of in the hopper that we know about. And Bonterra was just the one area that we couldn't do it. So we left it the way that it is right now, which is where Bonterra Phase 2 is separate and Bonterra Phase 1, 3, and 4 will still get picked up like they usually were. That's kind of where the split's going to be. But everybody over there seems to already know, and they're good with that. We don't really have a whole lot of complaints over in that area for missing day of service for collection. Total rerouting. So there's kind of 3 different things that are going on here. And Abby's done a good job at trying to lay that out on the website for people. So what we have is everybody is going to have a change, every single resident. And that's going to be that we're splitting recycling and yard waste on opposite weeks. So you will no longer take to your curb your trash, your recycling, and your yard waste on the same week. You will take your trash and your recycling one week. So let's say you were Orange. Orange week, you would take your trash and your recycling. The next week, you would take your trash and your yard waste. We're doing that to limit the number of vehicles, big vehicles that we have in the neighborhood at any given one time. All those vehicles are competing for space. We're trying to limit the number that we have in there. If you think about it right now on a bulk week, we could actually have 4 trucks in the neighborhood at the same time. We could have a trash truck, a recycle truck, a yard waste truck, and a bulk truck, all in the same neighborhood. So we're trying to limit that as much as we can. So every resident's going to have that change. About 40% of the residents are going to have a day of service change. So that's going to be that their actual service day is going to go from a Monday to a Wednesday, or from a Tuesday to a Thursday. We have done our best. There are a few changes that go backwards in the week, but almost all of them go forward in the week. So if you used to be a Wednesday pickup, your pickup's now Friday. So if you set your can out, on accident before you're learning your new schedule, it'll get picked up. It's just going to sit there for 2 days. Any questions? We're going to continue to come back and talk about this. We're trying to hit as many times as we can. Abby's doing as much as she can social media-wise. GB has things that they're doing. They're going to be sending a postcard. They're going to be doing in the paper, putting an ad in the paper. And then they're also going to be putting, when we do bulk, we have those signs that we put in front of people's neighborhoods that says it's your bulk week. They're going to be putting signs in front of every neighborhood for the first couple of weeks that says it's your trash week, it's your recycling week, it's your yard waste week, it's your trash week, telling people what week they are now so that they'll be as prepared as they can. On our end, we're doing these meetings. Abby's doing social media and on the web. The town's going to send out a sealed envelope to every resident with their new information of when their pickup and when their day is. And then we'll also keep blasting as much as we can through HOAs and everything that we can get information out there. Usually these cycles, I'm told, throughout the realm of solid waste, it takes about 2 full cycles, 2 full rollovers for everybody to kind of get on board with when their new pickup is. That's why we picked the day that we did, which is November 30th for this rollout, so that we can get to the end of that cycle before Christmas. But we wanted to do it after Thanksgiving. We wanted to hit in between our holidays.
Any questions?
Mr. Morris, you held up your hand.
Well, my first question was going to be, when does this start? So you've answered that. And the second question or comment is, I'm sure that y'all have looked at, everyone has looked at the cost savings that this will provide to the town, as well as God Bless USA. Anything?
So from a cost savings standpoint, I don't really know that there's going to be on a dollar per person. Mm-hmm. What it's going to save us is phone calls from missed pickups. What it's going to save us is, trash truck out there in the neighborhood at 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night on the heavy day. So what we've done is we've balanced all the days to be somewhere in that realm of, we always shoot, I've learned through this, not just this, but dealing with solid waste, 1,000, 1,200 homes for our type of density, the way we are, is about the most they can pick up in a day and still be productive. Once you start getting over that point, you start getting sloppy in your pickup, you're rushing around, things happen. So we're well below that point with our reroute. That way we have room to grow.
Any other questions?
All right. Now on to the fun stuff. Next item is an ordinance update. So you are not seeing that wrong there. The original ordinance was written in 1998 and amended in 1999, and it hadn't been looked at or touched since then. So we're just bringing it up to date. We're putting in best practices for what other municipalities do. Worked with other town staff and other municipalities. We kind of pulled all the ordinances together that other people have. Then with those, we kind of wrote our own, amended some things. Karen's looked at it. I know Mike looked at it, and it'll do what we need it to do. We mirrored all the ordinances that Kathy's working on right now to get online so that the citizens can look at them easier. This follows that same format, so it truly should be just plug and play when she puts it in that system. There shouldn't be any, issues or anything with that.
Any questions?
All right, so on this one, because it
We
is
need a
an
motion.
ordinance, we do need a motion?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I hate to ask a stupid question. but
there's no stupid questions.
It might be a real stupid question. So what is the ordinance? I mean, what are we?
Yep. So the ordinance, what it does is it lays out some factual information about solid waste collection. So it lays out a bunch of definitions for what different things are. What is recycling? What is white goods? What are bulk pickup? What is yard waste? That kind of stuff. What it also does is it spells out the type of containers that we collect in, the type of bulk that's allowed to go out. It also says that to pick up solid waste in the town, you have to be our contracted provider, like that we don't let just anybody come in town and start picking up solid waste. One thing it does do, which is, it goes back to some issues that we've had in the past, is we haven't had any way that if somebody is not using the service in the way it's intended, we haven't really had any way to remediate that problem. The ordinance does set in place that it does have a few penalties in there, that if you are misusing the service, if you are continually, putting bricks in your trash can, which is something that we can't pick up, there is a way for us to work with that property owner to hopefully, after we've gotten past the information stage and they still won't do it, to not let them hurt the service for the rest of the citizens.
I understand now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we still need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the new solid waste ordinance.
Ms. Cohen's made the motion to approve the solid waste ordinance. Mr. Head?
Approve.
Mr. Barber? Mr. Morris?
Approve.
Mr. McIntyre?
Approve.
Okay, let the record stand, that was unanimous.
Thank y'all.
Items needed for Indian Trail Park Stormwater Improvement Project.
Mayor, Council, on the agenda packet, you would have seen an image of the box culvert that we're proposing. This project came to y'all about a year ago. Basically, these homeowners on a particular road in Indian Trail Park subdivision basically gets inundated with a lot of stormwater on all three fronts, from the backyard to the front yard to from Over Road. And so instead of putting dual, I'm talking about enough water where you got to put dual stormwater pipes in their driveways. And so to lessen the impact of all that, we decided to go with the box culvert, which will make it look more of to me, a cleaner product in the end. Well, these are obviously not used very often, so it's a specialized type of manufacturing, and it'll take a while to get them to be manufactured. And so I'm trying to really, in short, kill the lead time and gain about a month in the whole project. We are at 75% design. We have like 2 easement acquisitions to get done. We're about based at the finish line. I'm wanting to get a contract started and bid out in November. So if we can get this, if you would allow me to go ahead and purchase these and get those started, I pretty much gain a month in overall schedule. I didn't have a number for you at the time. I wanted to double check before the Thursday when the agenda pack came out. So I held off putting it into the memo, but basis $143,000 cost. Right now, the engineer's estimate for putting all these in, and this includes actually the head walls. Each box culvert will have a head wall on either side, on the inlet side and the outlet side. So you're talking 10 box culverts and 20 head walls. So it's a big project. That's why the cost is so big. We're estimating just to put these in, over $500,000 as far as the engineer's estimate. So, but anyway, we would like to move forward in this endeavor if you will allow us.
Any questions?
I just got a comment. At the Stormwater Committee, he presented the pictures of the flooding in the neighborhood, and this is very much needed. It's terrible over there, so, I mean, of course, the money's in the stormwater fund, so, yeah, it's, you know, I was on the committee, it was unanimous. I mean, certainly, we need this, just let everybody know. Wish you'd have showed on the pictures. I mean, it's bad over there.
Yeah, my apologies. I should have mentioned that, what Mr. Barber said. I should have mentioned that we did get a consensus from the Stormwater Committee to move forward with this purchase. Sorry.
Mr. Barber, did you want to make the motion too?
I'll make the motion then. Let's see, I make a motion to approve the purchase of concrete box culverts not to exceed 200,000.
No, I would say, just to be on the safe side, $150,000. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Karen. I will tell you this, my apologies, I should have said this. We did reach out to 4 companies to give us costs for this work. Unfortunately, due to the specialty of the manufacturing of these box culverts, we only had one company that would work with us. So we did go through the somewhat formal bidding process as far as trying to get the, you know, a low bid, more or less. So I do have that documentation, and Jim, the finance director, was told about this, and he's aware of it. So we have that documentation, and again, this is what we are, unfortunately, only way we could deal with it. There's only 4 companies in this area that does this type of work, and we really didn't get no feedback but from one company, so.
So not to exceed 300,000 would be satisfactory.
Well, again, I got an invoice saying $143,000, so I would just say $143,000.
What do you say?
143.
143.
So we say not to exceed 150 would be good?
That's fine.
Okay.
300 would be fine too.
Yeah, 200 was fine too, I don't know. You got that engineer in mind there, it just outdid me, you know, so. The motion to approve the purchase of concrete box culverts not to exceed 150,000 as shown on the construction drawing for Indian Trail Park Stormwater Improvement Project.
Mr. Barber's made the motion. Mr. Head, Mr. Cohen,
Approved.
Approved.
Mr. McIntyre.
He's asleep, I think.
Marcus?
No, I was on mute. I apologize. I approve.
Okay, thank you.
Thank y'all.
That's unanimous. Board of Adjustment appointment? Ms. Brandy?
Mayor and council, you may be aware, a couple of month or so ago, we requested that Board of Adjustment numbers be modified from 5 to 7 to help us with quorum issues. And so because of that, we're looking at filling those 2 new seats, seat number 6 and seat number 7. We did receive 2 applications, Erin Cunningham and Jennifer Maher, and we would ask that you consider these nominations for this board. Thank you.
Any questions? If someone would make the nomination and which seat they're filling?
I'll do it. So Erin Cunningham for seat 6, term ending 6/30/22. I make a motion to approve. And Jennifer, is that Mayor? For seat 7, term ending 6/30/22.
Mr. Coden's made the appointment request. Mr. Head?
Approve?
Mr. Barber?
Approved.
Mr. Morse?
Approved.
Mr. McIntyre?
Approve.
Okay, thank you. Next item is establish a special revenue fund. Mr. Wadowitz, welcome. Hope you're doing well tonight.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to, before I start, thank Mr. Cohen for being here. The Dodgers are fighting for their lives, and you're here. You're dedicated.
Do you think? Are they winning? No.
But this is a good news story. The project started back in July, and we've been granted $506,000. We're required to set up a special revenue fund to receive these monies. So I ask for your approval, of which about $465,000 will go right against the sheriff's costs. So this is going to set us up nice for this fiscal year. We worked with the COG. We got back into there. They've been very helpful in this process. I'll take it back to the beginning. The feds gave the state of North Carolina $300 million. They distributed $8 million to Union County. Union County had to distribute 25% to the municipalities. 10 municipalities, and Union County got funds. Ballpark figure, I gave this to Mike the other day. Monroe got 800,000. Waxhaw got a little bit more than us, 533. They have police and fire, I think. And then Stallings got 200. So we got 506,000.
Okay.
Which will go right into our general fund till.
Any questions for Mr. Wadowitz? So we'll need a motion to set up this fund.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance, is that 020-013-343, which establishes a special revenue fund and improves the appropriation of funds regarding the CARES Act.
Mr. Heads made the motion. Mr. Cohen? Mr. Barber?
Approve.
Mr. Morris?
Approve.
Mr. McIntyre?
Approve.
Let the record stand, that was unanimous.
And then I have one more, Mayor. I have the budget amendment I'd like you to approve as well.
Okay. Oh, that's in the same,
Should I read that, Karen, into the record, or? So I'll read the amended budget. This will, so we're going to increase public safety expenditures, $463,382. Increase COVID supply expenditures, $16,500. Increase economic support expenditures, $5,034. Increase COVID labor expenditures by $1,000. Other related COVID expenditures, $680. And then grants to outside agencies, $20,000. And then we're also going to increase CARES Act revenue for the same 506,596. I asked you to approve that budget amendment.
I need a motion for what Jim said.
I have one question.
Yes.
What is the grants to outside agencies? What are those?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Jerry. That's really exciting. We were the only town, by the way, and this goes to Ray and Mike and myself, that had requested, the state said you could give money to non-for-profits, so we had put in 10,000 for the, let me just write it, make sure I get it right. For Common Heart, right down the street. And we also put in 10,000 for Food for Families. And they've been very patient. They sent me some information. I sent it out. So that's what it is, Jerry. I'm really happy about that part of it. And they can use it. Food for Families, they're buying more food than ever with the pandemic. And Common Heart, they had to hire additional people. They didn't need the money for food. They're spread out. They got people giving food out all over the place. So I'm glad you asked, Jerry. That's a real good thing. And when it happens, I'm going to have them come to the meeting and you guys present the check. That's what Mike and I thought about.
Any other questions? We need a motion. It's not on there. It's part of this. Just approve Jim's budget amendment.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget amendment presented by Jim.
Is that okay, Karen? Okay. Mr. Morse has made the motion to approve Jim's budget amendment. Mr. Barber?
Approve.
Approve. Mr. Head?
Approve.
Mr. McIntyre?
Approve.
Okay. Anything else, Jim?
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to item G, the new seating arrangement, as you see here. Did you want to discuss it, Mike, or just get a consensus?
I'd just like to get a consensus. I like the way the setup is. I think we can see each other better. I think it's a better flow. We can get to see Karen and Mike. I just like to kind of, I don't know if we need to do this, but I'd like to see this as the permanent setup. I think this was for, initially for COVID, but I think it works well with this council, so.
Ms. Cohen, you okay with that? Mr. Barber? Approve. Is that okay, ma'am?
I like it.
Mr. McIntyre, you see it okay? Mark is?
Yes, as long as I get to sit in the same spot, I'm good.
Right now, you're sitting on top of the dais. but you can have your seat back when you get back here.
I'm watching over you guys.
Thanks for lending me a hand. Looks good, Mike. Karen, Mike, you okay with that?
Fine.
Okay. All right. So, don't move. That brings us to your manager's update, Mr. McLaurin.
All right, is this mic working?
Yep.
Test, 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 test. Is it? Okay. Just a few items. I've been here 43 days, I think. I counted it up just a few minutes ago, and really having a good time, and hope that we're serving all of the board members well. We're starting to make some internal tweaks to the organization that I'm optimistic which will continue to serve you and your meeting time better. And one of the things that we're doing is we're starting to plan agenda items out more than 2 weeks in advance. So tomorrow morning, we'll be talking about the November agenda. One of the things that we'll be doing on October 27th that I may have shared with some of you is to use that 5:30 slot so we can get into some items where we can have some more in-depth discussion. And for October 27th, we've got 4 policies that we'll be bringing to you for discussion. If the discussion goes and we get clear direction from you, we'll then schedule that in early November so it makes effective use of your business meeting time. The other thing we're trying to do to open up information for you is the audit is almost done, and we'll schedule some time for the auditor to come and make a presentation. And just to remind you that your annual audit is required by law, and it is a financial snapshot of where you are as of June 30th. In a few weeks, I'll start doing a manager's report to you. It will be a very brief report, kind of bulletized, so you can see some of the stuff that's going on during the week. And it's just kind of as a memory jogger, just an item jogger. And then if you have any questions, feel free to give me a shout. I've kept you in the loop on the roundabout, the infamous roundabout, the latest being at 4:48 this afternoon. We'll be out there tomorrow. And one of the things that's always a lessons learned, and we're going to take that project and we're going to kind of dissect it or do an autopsy on it and see what worked in the process and what things we can do better, both on our end and in working with the vendors. So, and we're going to probably see a lot of things in this organization we just want to take apart and just look at the process and see how we can do it better. I think that's all the items I have tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, Karen, you're up.
I've got Mr. Morse.
No comments.
Mr. Cohn.
Just a quick comment. It's not a political comment, but you see I'm wearing a mask tonight. I didn't wear a mask in the past. I just want to say wear a mask if possible. Again, it's not political. Last week I had someone come tell me that I worked with that said my son or daughter has COVID, and I've been around them for days, and I was around them. And it really gave me it made me sick on my stomach to a certain point, because I was guilty of not wearing a mask. And my wife asked me all the time, "Are you wearing a mask?" Yeah, but I had a tendency not to wear a mask when other people didn't wear a mask. If I was in that particular work environment, they weren't wearing masks, so I didn't wear a mask. Well, I got tested, and of course I came negative. He was negative as all, but you know, I'm just telling you on the way that I felt. I felt that it was, I wish I went, until I found out I was negative, said the whole time I wish I would have, all I had to do was put a mask on. That's all I had to do. And I wouldn't have to worry about it. and then you know, if you take it home to your wife and your kids or whatever. Not political, I just wanted to tell you how I felt about it, and I hope people wear a mask and don't not wear a mask and then think about it later, because it makes you feel bad. But one last thing too, we were talking about pickleball earlier at these apartments, I think. And a couple of weeks ago, I played pickleball for the first time. And I heard a lot about pickleball, and it's one of my neighbors. He's older than I am. And, man, I was just going to go out there and kick some butt. And it was like, it's typically people my age or older, and, you know, how good could they be? So I've gone a couple of weeks and played pickleball for hours, and I still haven't won a game. And I'm very, very, I hate to lose. God, I'd still be out there right now if I thought I could win, but I'm not going to win. And it's a fun game. We do it at Carolina Courts, I think, I think we do it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. $5 to get in and play. It's a lot more exercise than you think it might be. And if anybody wants to come one of those days, let me know, and we'll go play some pickleball. And it's good for you. It's good for you. And I hope does everybody know what pickleball is? Have you seen it played before?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I need to take you out there then. But anyway, thanks for coming, everybody, and I'll see you next time.
Mr. McIntyre.
You're up, Marcus. Did we lose him?
This is where a mask comes in.
Oh, sorry.
No comment.
What I was
No
saying is,
comment.
You need to start over?
I was saying that because of my me not being in the room, I will refrain from making any comments. But thank you for a good meeting.
Thank you, Marcus.
Mr. Head.
Just a couple things. Just as a reminder, everybody, early voting starts Thursday if you want to vote early. And then last Friday was kind of a tough day for us about a year ago, and that's when Chase passed away. And I just want to just remember Chase for what he did. And Captain James, you have filled in remarkably, and thank you for all your help. That's it.
Mr. Barber.
I'd like to thank Andrew, Joseph, and Walker for earning their Eagle Scout with Troop 276. Congratulations. I'd like to thank everybody that's come out to the turkey shoot. It's the biggest fundraiser for Indian Trail Lions Club, still going on, and will Thanksgiving Day. I'd like to thank the Stormwater Committee for putting up with me and the great work that the Stormwater staff here and everybody's doing. Mr. Huntsinger, I know the people over at First Avenue and Indian Trail Park are thrilled of the projects of what's going on there. Also like to thank the Solid Waste and Mr. McMillan for their work on rerouting everything and the great work they're doing. The other thing is we had a tragedy in town, and my prayers go out to for the little girl's family. In a tragedy, one thing you do find out about a community is what it's all about. And there's been a lot of people who've reached out to help this family. I know Randy Simpson Produce over here donated pumpkins to the neighborhood. The mayor himself's taken a very good leadership role for the family. They recognize his contributions and what he's doing. And I know they've got a GoFundMe site set up. And a lot of people have donated money to that. But I just want to say thanks to everybody. I mean, gee, what a great town that, they've reached out during a tragedy and they've had a vigil over there. I know it's a bad thing and all that, but my prayers goes out to them. I'd just like to thank everybody for caring. That's all.
I can't follow that. Nice words, Todd, very nice words.
It's your option.
Yes, we have a wonderful community. I'd like to thank everyone for pulling together for this family in their time of tragedy. Other than that, I agree with everything they said. Everyone have a wonderful night and God bless. I need a motion to adjourn. Everybody spoke, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So moved.
Yeah, approve.
You're going to have to wait till last. Mr. Morris made the motion, Mr. Barber, Mr. Cohn,
Yes.
Mr. Head,
Approve.
Mr. McIntyre.
Approve, man.
Everyone have a wonderful evening.